Welcome to the ultimate guide to preparing a hearty beef stew. Whether you're cooking for a cozy family dinner or looking to impress guests, this recipe promises rich flavors and tender beef that melt in your mouth. Follow along as we take you through each step, from selecting the right ingredients to mastering key cooking techniques. Let's dive into creating a comforting dish that's perfect for any occasion. Here's a quick rundown of the ingredients you'll need for hearty beef stew. First, you'll start with about 2 pounds of beef chuck roast, cut into 1-inch cubes. This cut is perfect for stewing because it becomes tender and flavorful when cooked slowly. You'll also need vegetable oil for browning the beef and sautéing vegetables. Salt and pepper are essential for seasoning throughout the cooking process. Onion and garlic add aromatic depth to the stew. They're diced and minced, respectively, and sautéed until fragrant and softened. For the liquid base, you'll use 4 cups of beef broth or stock. Adding richness, you can include 1 cup of red wine, which also helps to deglaze the pot and enhance flavors. If you prefer, you can skip the wine and use more beef broth instead. 2 tablespoons of tomato paste provide a concentrated tomato flavor that complements the beef. Herbs like bay leaves, dried thyme, and dried rosemary add earthy and aromatic notes to the stew. For vegetables, you'll add 4 peeled and chopped carrots and 3 to 4 peeled and diced potatoes. These root vegetables cook alongside the beef, becoming tender and soaking up all the flavors. If you like, you can finish the stew with a cup of frozen peas for a pop of color and sweetness. Garnish with fresh parsley before serving for a fresh herbal note. Now, let's get cooking. Preparing the beef is crucial for a delicious stew. Here's how to do it. Start by patting dry the beef cubes with paper towels. This step ensures that the surface of the beef is dry, allowing it to sear properly in the next step. Next, season the beef cubes generously with salt and pepper. This not only flavors the meat, but also helps in developing a nice crust when you sear it later on. Now, let's sear the beef. In a large heavy-bottomed pot or Dutch oven, heat 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil over medium-high heat. It's important to use a heavy pot to ensure even heat distribution. Add half of the beef cubes to the pot in a single layer. Make sure not to overcrowd the pot. This allows the beef to brown properly. Let them cook undisturbed for about 4 to 5 minutes until they develop a golden brown crust on all sides. This step adds depth of flavor to your stew. Once browned, transfer the beef cubes to a plate using tongs or a slotted spoon. Repeat the process with the remaining beef cubes, adding more oil to the pot if needed. This ensures all the beef gets evenly seared, enhancing its flavor and texture. Now, let's sauté the onions and garlic to build more flavor. After searing the beef, in the same pot, add the diced onion. Sauté it over medium heat for about 5 minutes, stirring occasionally. This allows the onions to soften and become translucent, releasing their sweetness into the stew. Next, add the minced garlic to the pot. Cook for another 1 to 2 minutes until the garlic becomes fragrant. Be careful not to let it burn. Stirring continuously helps evenly distribute its flavor. After sautéing the onions and garlic, it's time to deglaze the pot. Pour in the red wine, if you're using it. The wine adds depth and richness to the stew. As you pour it in, the liquid will start to sizzle and bubble. Using a wooden spoon or spatula, scrape the bottom of the pot vigorously. This process loosens and incorporates all the flavorful brown bits, called fond, that have stuck to the bottom of the pot from searing the beef and sautéing the vegetables. Now, let's combine all the delicious ingredients for your beef stew. First, return the brown beef cubes and any accumulated juices from the plate back into the pot with the sautéed onions, garlic, and deglazed wine. Next, add the tomato paste to the pot. This will add a rich, concentrated tomato flavor that complements the beef and other ingredients. Pour in the beef broth. This liquid will serve as the main base for your stew, providing a savory broth that will simmer and meld all the flavors together. Drop in the bay leaves for their aromatic essence, followed by the dried thyme and dried rosemary. These herbs add earthy and herbaceous notes that will enhance the overall depth of flavor in your stew. Now it's time to simmer your beef stew to perfection. First, bring the mixture to a boil over medium-high heat. Once it reaches a boil, reduce the heat to low to maintain a gentle simmer. Cover the pot with a lid to trap the heat and flavors inside. Let the stew simmer for about 1.5 to 2 hours, stirring occasionally. This slow cooking process allows the beef to become incredibly tender and infused with all the flavors from the broth and herbs. You'll know the stew is ready when the beef cubes are fork tender, meaning they can be easily pierced with a fork without resistance. Now, let's add the vegetables to complete your hearty beef stew. Carefully add the peeled and chopped carrots and diced potatoes into the simmering stew. Stir well to ensure they are submerged in the flavorful broth. Cover the pot again with the lid to continue cooking. Let the stew simmer gently for another 30 to 40 minutes. During this time, the vegetables will absorb the delicious flavors of the stew and become tender. Check the vegetables periodically with a fork to gauge their doneness. They should be soft and easily pierced when ready. As you near the end of cooking your hearty beef stew, here's how to adjust seasoning and finish it. First, taste the stew and assess if it needs any additional seasoning. Add salt and pepper as needed to balance the flavors. Remember, the flavors intensify during cooking, so a final adjustment ensures your stew is perfectly seasoned. If you're including frozen peas for a burst of color and sweetness, add them during the last 5 minutes of cooking. This brief cooking time preserves their vibrant color and crisp texture. Stir the peas gently into the stew to incorporate them evenly. Finally, it's time to serve your delicious hearty beef stew. First, remove the bay leaves from the stew. They have imparted their flavor during cooking, but are not meant to be eaten. If you like, garnish the stew with chopped fresh parsley. This adds a fresh herbal brightness to the dish. Serve the hearty beef stew hot in bowls. It pairs wonderfully with crusty bread for dipping into the flavorful broth. Alternatively, you can serve it over cooked rice or mashed potatoes to soak up the savory juices. Enjoy your homemade hearty beef stew. Here are some essential tips to ensure your hearty beef stew turns out perfectly. Choosing the beef. Opt for beef chuck roast, known for its marbling and connective tissue that breaks down during slow cooking, resulting in tender, flavorful meat. Browning the meat. Before adding to the stew, pat the beef cubes dry with paper towels. This step helps in achieving a good sear, enhancing both texture and flavor. Deglazing the pot. After browning the beef and sautéing aromatics, deglaze the pot with red wine or beef broth to scrape up the brown bits. This process adds depth and richness to the stew. Slow cooking. Simmer the stew gently over low heat. This slow cooking method allows the flavors to meld together and ensures the beef becomes tender. Stir occasionally to prevent ingredients from sticking to the bottom. Vegetable timing. Add root vegetables like carrots and potatoes early in the cooking process since they require more time to soften. Quick cooking vegetables like peas should be added towards the end to maintain their texture and vibrant color. Adjusting seasoning. Taste the stew towards the end of cooking and adjust seasoning with salt, pepper, and herbs as needed. This final adjustment ensures the stew is perfectly seasoned to your liking. By following these tips, you'll create a delicious, comforting, hearty beef stew that's sure to be a hit at the table. Enjoy your cooking!